Hi Lochac, it's me again with another video about the results of the survey that we did 18 months ago. I was going to write up the findings, but it was going to take me too long and I wasn't sure you'd read it, but I figured you'd probably listen to some videos. So this video is about why we do arts and sciences as a kingdom and a little bit about why we don't do arts and science as a kingdom. So I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about what people's vision for enjoyment in the SCA is and why that drives us to do arts and sciences or not to do arts and sciences. I want to talk about motivations for making things, and I want to talk about the resources that we have available to us. And I think that those three things together create a picture of why someone makes something or doesn't make something or participates in a performance or some research or whatever it is that they want to do in the arts and sciences. And if we can understand these three things in their totality for each individual, then we can all have a better conversation about arts and sciences in Lochac, what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go. So the first one, what I call a vision for enjoyment, which is the reason that people join us. People join the SCA for one of three reasons. Generally, they're interested in fighting. Perhaps they want to make stuff, or they want the ambience. And in this case, it's usually that they've perhaps watched a video or watched a movie, seen a TV series, read some books, and they have an idea of what it means to live in this particular time and place, and they want to recreate that, whatever that means for them based on whatever they saw. And if you can understand these three reasons, if that person can have that reason met, and if that reason for being part of our group is met in a way that they like and enjoy, then they'll stay around. If it isn't, they won't. So it's really important to understand why people join us in the first place and what they're looking for when they join. The next most important thing to understand, I think, is people's motivations for making stuff. And this was really surprising in some ways what came through in the survey. So it came through in a couple of different questions, and I'm sort of synthesizing a lot of the responses in this space. But people generally said that they liked doing arts and sciences for one of four reasons. The first one, this is not in order of importance, mind you. The first one is authenticity. So some people make things because they want to make the most authentic thing that they possibly can based on the research that we have available, access to materials and techniques. That's what drives them to make things and to keep making things. There's another group of people who want to make things the best that they possibly can. So I call this one workmanship. They want to make things to the highest quality standard that they can make something, and they will work out what those techniques are. They'll practice those techniques over and over again. They will get the best materials and the best tools to make sure that they can do the best job possible. And if you think about this, when we think about arts and sciences, generally that's what we think about, those two things together. And those two things together generally create a laurel. So a vision for arts and sciences in Lochac is authenticity plus workmanship equals a laurel, and a lot of people strive for this. But there are two other categories that I think are as equally important to the breadth of arts and sciences in this kingdom and to the ways that people want to play this game. Which is, there are people for whom their motivation is to try all of the things, all of them, as many as they possibly can. And so these are people who will dabble in one craft, and then they'll go and make something else, and then they'll make something different, and they might come back to the first one, then they'll go do something else. So they'll do cooking one week and weaving next week, and then they'll be interested in woodcraft the week after that. And they make things to the point where they're happy with what they've made. And then they go and do something else. So they want the gamut of experience and the gamut of skills. And this is really important because that's how we get cross-fertilization of ideas, but more importantly, that's just how they enjoy doing stuff. And the last one of those people for whom they joined us because they saw a particular movie or a particular book, or they have a particular idea of what it is to be here, and they want to make the thing that makes them feel like they are in that space. I call this creativity. So they've seen a movie and they want to make that dress that looks like it comes from the movie. They've read a book and they want to make that set of furniture that's described in that book, or they want to do herbalism as described in that book. And it's actually really important for our game that we acknowledge and find space for this to be a thing that people do. Because we have a minimum entry, which is an attempt at pre-16th century. And so these people, and I'm one of them, I started there, can find a place where they can make the stuff. And it's great. It adds to our game. It adds to the sense of who we are and what we do. So I want us to understand those four reasons, and if you can understand those four reasons for motivation, then you can understand why someone might make something. The last most important thing is resources. To make something takes money, it takes time, and it takes knowledge. And we all have different access to those three things at different points in time. And we make trade-offs in our life and how we want to spend our money, spend our time, and how much knowledge we want in something before we think that is what we want to do. Personally, I have no kids. I have an incredibly good job that pays me a good salary. I had a crafty parent growing up, so I understand how to make things. And I have a history degree, which means I can go and read research more easily than other people. So I bring these things to my craft and my understanding, which means that I had time to get to where I wanted to go. And I could get there. Other people make other decisions. Perhaps they can't have as much money involved in the game as they want to. They've got other goals for their money, or they just don't have as much income. Think about our collegians, for instance. They generally don't have as much income as the rest of us because they're at university. Perhaps they don't have as much time. So you choose to give enough time to this game, and someone might choose to spend a different amount of time with their life. And so I want us to think about those things in terms of when someone makes something, what decisions they might have made, and to have the grace to understand that they've made the best possible decision for them at their time, and to understand why they might have made those decisions. And the reason I bring up these three things is because A, it's really interesting and fascinating why people do stuff. At least I find it interesting and fascinating. But because the number one reason that people don't do arts and sciences, if you say to someone, why don't you do it? The answer is generally because at some point they were made to feel like they weren't doing it right. They were made to feel like their idea and their vision for what they wanted to do and what brought them happiness and motivation was wrong. And that's not okay. That's never okay. As a kingdom, we have a really high standard for arts and sciences, and I'm really proud of where we are and what we do in arts and sciences across the known world. We have some excellent research and some excellent craftspeople. But we also need to remember that we all started somewhere, and we all started with a certain understanding of why we're here, what our motivations were, and our own set of access to resources. And if we don't make space for all of those things to be okay, and for someone to feel proud of what they're doing based on their motivations and their access to resources, then I think as a game we suffer. And so the reason I'm making this video right now is the most frequent event where people are told they're not doing it right and they need to do it better is Rowaney Festival. That is where I hear the most stories about someone who someone doesn't know coming up to them and telling them they're doing it wrong. And so I bring this up because I want to challenge you, Lochac. Lochac, I want to make us a challenge that we spend Rowaney Festival not doing this. That we spend Rowaney Festival instead asking why someone made something, what it is they wanted, what their enjoyment was, what their motivation was, perhaps what access to resources they had, what decisions did they make, instead of saying you're doing it wrong. Ask them why they did it. And the final part of my challenge to you, Lochac, apart from understanding these things, is to join me in having a new motto for our kingdom, which is that unasked for criticism is discourteous. We are a kingdom that prides itself on our courtesy. We give awards for courtesy. And I think that making someone feel like they're doing it wrong through unasked for criticism is discourteous and is a thing that we should stop doing. Compliments are great. Compliments are fantastic. It's the unasked for criticism that is the issue. So come and find me at Rowaney Festival if you want to talk about these things. I'm always happy to discuss this research. I'm happy to discuss these ideas. And I hope that this understanding makes us all better at what we do.